Hey everybody, welcome to TIW Podcast. I'm Eric, and today I'm talking about the new comics that I picked up on March 11th, 2020. So I'm trying something different. If you're listening to this, it's not going to seem all that different, except I'm going to make a lot more mistakes that are not going to be cut out, probably. But I am doing I'm streaming live on Twitch for this episode, and you'll see how it goes. And I'm hopefully going to do this for all of the podcast episodes, so we'll see how it all goes down. But I got my camera working, hooked up to the computer, and all of that, so I'm really happy about all those things. Before we talk about, let's put something on the screen right now. To start off with, this is the only comic that I picked up this week that I have not read yet, mostly because it's 100 pages. It is Aquaman Giant number 3. Let's see what's on the cover here. We've got Ocean Master, Black Manta, Aqualad, Tempest, Danger in the Deep, 5 action-packed stories, also featuring Mira, Screaming Sea, and Aqualad, the newest member of the Teen Titans. So yeah, all these giant books are a great value. Go check them out. Okay, and then I'm going to leave this up on the screen. So if you're watching, I don't have a visual for this, but I did watch The Walking Dead, season 10, episode 12. It was broadcast last night. I'm streaming this on Monday, March 16th, because it took me this long to read all of this week's comics, except for Aquaman right here. But so Walking Dead, episode 12, I think it's called Walk With Me, and it was really good. It might be my favorite episode. It's definitely my favorite episode of the season. But yeah, I watched it at like 4 a.m., which is probably a bad idea. But I watched it like early in the morning, but I was like yelling at the TV and stuff, and getting all choked up about some other stuff. It's really good. So I'm looking forward to what happens in the last 4 episodes of the season. But anyway, I'll maybe I will actually, when the season ends, I'm going to do a whole second half of the season review, and just let y'all know what I thought about Walking Dead season 10, part 2. All right, so let's get Aquaman out of here. You might hear some sound of the of the books hitting the floor. But here we have the first book that I read this week that I picked up, Batman Overdrive. This is another one of the young reader books. This one actually for kids, not just for I think it's young adults, it says on the other ones. But anyway, I really liked this book. It was a nice story. Although young Bruce Wayne, so it's about Bruce Wayne before he became Batman. So he's a kid. I think he's just about to turn 16. So he's determined to restore this car that he has a photo of his dad like standing next to this car. And so he asks Alfred, "Oh, is this car still in the garage?" and all that. And so he goes to the junkyard, and he runs into a thief that's stealing from the junkyard. He makes a friend there at the junkyard. I forget the friend's name. And all this stuff gets involved with these teenage versions of people who he would encounter more later. The main one being Selena Kyle, who wears a disguise that looks like a cat, but she's not officially Catwoman yet. And I'm not going to spoil anything else about the book, because the cover itself, once you read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about, that what's not spoiled on the cover, which could easily be, because at this point of the story that you see him here, there's something else that's missing from this image. But anyway, I really recommend it. I'm going to give my rating. So on is it CLZ? It's either CLZ or CRZ. The comics app that I use, whenever I read a comic, I want to keep track of everything that I've read. And so they also have a star rating system in there. So I've been writing down so I can remember for each of these episodes. But I gave this an 8 out of 10. It's really fun, but also I didn't really like Bruce Wayne very much. But that's fine because it's still a fun story, and it's just as much about Alfred and Selena, I think. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Okay, so that's the only paperback that I picked up this week. I am going. Okay, now I'm mostly in alphabetical order, but I read them in reverse alphabetical order. So I'm going to be starting with what I remember the best. Theoretically, I remember the best. But first, we have Adler, number 2. Picks up right off from where number 1 starts. I don't remember exactly all the stuff that happens in number 1. And I'm going to have such a hard time remembering names of characters and stuff. But yeah, this is a good one. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It didn't like blow me away, but it was a pretty good story. Actually, I pretty much rated everything 7 or better. That's mostly, I feel like that could be seen as an indication of what I think, that I just like all the comics, but it's more so that I know what I'm going to like, and so I don't really buy any comics that it's rare that I buy a comic that I end up not liking very much. So 7 usually. There's been a 6 here and there. Not this week. I forgot to write my rating for one of these, but anyway, just to explain my rating system, it seems like everything I rate 7 or above, that's true basically, but it's mostly because I avoid comics that I'm probably not going to enjoy anyway. Okay, so Adler number 2. I really like the opera setting for a good part of this issue, and then there's a whole thing with getting papers delivered to Irene Adler, and then we also have our other main character. I forget her name, who's now friends with Irene, and yeah, they're just trying to figure out what's going on with like this whole like crime syndicate type of thing. And yeah, it's cool to see it. It's a Sherlock Holmes story, but without any Sherlock Holmes. It's Irene instead, and it's pretty cool. Also, Madame Curie is in this issue. So yeah, if you like this time period, it's pretty like you can tell from the cover here. It's got the steampunk aesthetic. Check it out. It's only you're only 2 issues behind. Quick catch up. Next up, we have Ant-Man number 3. This continues the story of a bunch of bug people coming to take over the world, and Ant-Man is seeking the help of the Avengers, and his daughter Cassie doesn't believe that he takes superheroing seriously. So he insists that instead of letting her go to join the Young Avengers and move away to the West Coast, because I think they live in Florida. Yeah, definitely. Yes, they do live in Florida because there's lots of crap talking about Florida. Talked about Florida in this issue. But so Cassie goes along with him for Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, basically. And they end up teaming with Black Cat and Spider-Man in order to figure out what's going on and hopefully stop what's going on. So that's all I'll say about that. I really, really, really like this issue. It's one of the 2. I think I only rated 2 comics this week, a 9 out of 10. Nothing made it a 10 out of 10. So this is one in my top 2 favorites of this week. I might have rated Flash 9 out of 10, but I didn't write it down. I can't remember. But yeah, this is great. Up next, we have. I haven't been talking about the covers for the audio version of this show. You see a Black Cat and Spider-Man and Ant-Man on the cover of that one. Okay, then we have the Batman's Grave, number 6. I give this an 8 out of 10. Mostly for there's a big like fight sequence to get out of Arkham. That's like the whole first half of the book, and then there's a big high profile murder that happens, that Batman and Commissioner Gordon are that's what's coming next. So spoilers for all of this. I am going to talk some spoilers about this. I don't think any of those are like major spoiler. You kind of assume that Batman's going to get out of there from the last issue, so sorry for spoiling that. But anyway, it's really good, and I enjoyed it. So that brings us to another Batman title. We have Batman and the Outsiders, issue number 11. And actually, I'm going to turn it this... No, wrong way. This is like to my side, and I can't actually see. I'm like seeing it in the monitor, but not actually what's there. So Batman the Outsiders number 11. I'm also going to do a better job of in my notes to have all of the writers and cover artists and all that kind of stuff. I got the variant cover of Batman's Grave there with Batman holding one of his batarangs. And then we have Ra's al Ghul on the cover, the variant cover, and it's sideways, so it's like a horizontal layout of him on there. But anyway, I have not read issues 2 through 10 of Batman the Outsiders, and this is like part 4 of his story arc or something like that. So I didn't know what was going on at all, but I still really enjoyed it. This is in contrast to another book that I am caught up on, that I have no idea what's going on, but still enjoyed. So anyway, there's a big fight with all the characters involved in there, including Shiva, and then we also have Batman off somewhere with the Sophia character. I don't know anything about her, but I think it's about to be a big deal. But I'm excited to go back and read 2 through 10, because I forgot that Orphan is in this book, and she's my favorite version of Batgirl. Even though she's not Batgirl now, but you know what I mean. All right, so let's move on to not Batman. I think there still is a little bit more. No, that's all of the Batman for this week. But it is definitely not the end of DC stuff. But over here from Dark Horse Comics, I think this is the main cover, which has I don't know, I don't remember any of these characters' names, but it looks a lot like a 70s fantasy novel cover, and I like that design a lot. But Blackwood, The Morning After, issue number 2. The scenes there are scenes in the library that I thought were really cool, and then there's also a big morgue heist. That's all I'll say. To try to explain anything else would be a lot of spoilers and all of that. And if you've read Blackwood number 1, and if you've read the first run of Blackwood, which was just 6 issues, then you'll know if you're gonna like this book. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Then we have, not quite in alphabetical order, but close enough, kind of. This would be like 5 titles later but this one wasn't in my poll yet, so that's why I didn't read it in order like the rest of them. But anyway, The Man Who Effed Up Time, issue number 2. This is from Aftershock Comics, and I gave this issue a 9 out of 10. One of the only 2 that I gave a 9 out of 10 this week, or maybe 3, depending on how I rated The Flash. But I just love time travel stuff. On the cover here, we see our main character. I forget his name, and he's about to fight himself from slightly in the past or slightly in the future. And it all makes sense once you read the book, but that gives you a good idea right here. How is he effing up time? Well, he's obviously just effing up himself through time travel, so that's a big part of it. But yeah, I like it. It doesn't take itself really seriously at all, because there's all kinds of weird stuff, like an Abraham Lincoln looking guy with who's riding a dinosaur, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really like time travel stuff, and I also like when a story just has fun with it and has all kinds of weird stuff that might happen with changing the path of history. All right, so next up we have Catwoman number 21. I got the variant here. I think this is a Frank Cho cover. I'm not sure, but I got the variant, which is awesome with the cat there on her around her shoulders, which is pretty fun. But I am fairly far behind on this one, so I skipped a bunch to read. Just jump in to read it this week. And I'm realizing now that I did not write down my notes for this issue. So I'm just going to take a moment to look up my tweet about it, and also take this opportunity to tell you about kind of activity that I've been taking part in starting this week, and that is the 1,000 Comic Challenge. So search for 1,000 Comic Challenge, either or you go to my Twitter. At JKire, JKIRE. I didn't post it on the TIW podcast. I should have done it on the TIW podcast Twitter, but it's some comic book shops are competing with each other to figure out, or not to figure out, to see which shops can get to 1,000 comic books read first, or second, or third, or whatever. Keep on going. To encourage everybody to knock out their backlogs, with a lot of people spending more time at home now, is a great opportunity for that to get a lot of reading done. But my tweet, well, let me first talk about the tweets from these other books. I did catch up a little bit on Archie and Sabrina, but I'm not going to talk about those until I get the newest comic of Archie and Archie. But Adler number 2, the tweet I sent is the assassin a vampire? And Ant-Man number 3, take your daughter to work day. Also, Florida takes a beating. They make fun of Florida so much. Then it's basically, this Ant-Man run is basically just making fun of Florida the entire time. Then we have, let's see, Batman's Grave. I said, cool fight to escape Arkham. And then I posted a picture of a conversation between Batman and Gordon. Batman says to him, I like that you think you'll live long enough to retire. When Gordon, right before that, says, I don't think you're going to live long enough to see me retire. And Batman says, you're not going to retire because you're probably dead. Anyway, Batman and the Outsiders number 11. I wrote, this book has almost all of my favorite characters. It also has Katana in there. She's awesome. Blackwood the Morning After number 2. I wrote, just a good old morgue heist. Then, let's see, The Man Who Effed Up Time number 2. Don't use time travel to buy flowers. That's the biggest lesson of this issue. And then we have Catwoman number 21. Okay, I give it a 4 out of 5 stars, so that's 8 out of 10. And she fights. Oh, that's right. She fights a ton of zombies in this issue. I wrote she's great at fighting zombies, and that's all I wrote. Okay, so that brings us to Deja Thoris. Oh, I picked up too many books. There we go. That's just a general statement that I picked up too many books, but also I picked up too many. So now we have Deja Thoris. I really like the one character. I forget all of their names, but she's not really familiar with Earth stuff, and so when they're talking about poking a bear, the quote, that turn of phrase, they she's like, "What is a bear?" And then later on, she tries to use the phrase, and she doesn't do it correctly, but it's still really fun. Anyway, I give this a 7 out of 10. There's a spaceship wreck, and then there's a billion spiders. I mean, I liked it, but obviously I didn't remember all of the details enough. It didn't stick out in my mind as like an extremely great book this week. Like I said, 7 out of 10 is not bad. It looks worse as a 3.5 out of 5. Like a 3.5 out of 5 looks like a pretty bad rating, personally. But when you think about it, that's a 7. That's a 7 out of 10. That's still good. It's like 2.5 and lower is when it like starts to get like not very good. I would think, because that's a 5 out of 10. And I don't think I've rated any of the books that I've read a 5 out of 10. Maybe like one. But even still, I think the one that I'm thinking of, I think I still gave a pretty good rating because the art is really good. But anyway, up next, we have Dollhouse Family number 5. I think I did skip a couple of issues of this one. So I wasn't really sure what was going on. But I gave it a 7 out of 10, mostly because of that I didn't know exactly what was going on with everything. But it is good. It's a cool series, and also we're up to chapter 17 of Sea Dogs, which I have not read any of. But also when I get around to when all these books are complete, and then it's like chapters 1 through 30 of Sea Dogs to read all at once, I'm gonna have to like go into my short boxes and pick all of these out, unless I'm proactive and just keep all of the Hill House comics together in one thing, which is probably the best way to go, I think. And then it's easy. Then you can put them all in release order by going off of which chapters of Sea Dogs are in there, because it tells you right there. Chapter 17 is in this one. But anyway, what happened in this one? They're investigating what's going on with this cursed dollhouse, and our main character discovers something about her past, about her ancestors. So that's a pretty interesting thing. Probably more interesting if I was caught up on the last couple of issues, have a little bit more context for that. Then we have Flash number 751. Oh, and what did I say on Twitter about the Dollhouse Family? I said, I don't think I've seen a jump scare in a comic before, because she goes to investigate a long abandoned old house, and she if I tell you what the jump scares are, then you won't be jump scared of them. Well, you probably won't be anyway because it's in a comic book, but it was interesting to see that represented in a comic book. All right, Flash number 751. No spoilers, but what? And I have to think for a second. Now I remember what was. What was happening? Oh, I don't actually remember exactly what the what was, because I didn't want to Oh man, but I really enjoy this. They're fighting Paradox, or Flash is, and but he's also like chasing after Godspeed, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So this is in contrast to the next book that I'm going to talk about, that the Flash can get super, super weird, but to me, it usually makes a lot of sense. Even though he's doing it mostly because it's time travel, alternate dimensions, stuff like that. And I got the variant cover. I'm not sure who the artist is. I'll do a better job of that in coming weeks of writing down the cover artists. But what did I write down here? This is Flash Age Part 2. So I think this story arc, it still continues. So we'll have Flash Age Part 3 next. And it just continues his fight against Paradox and what he's trying to do. he's trying to absorb all of this energy to to cause another crisis. So this is building up towards I think Final Crisis is the next thing, the next big event. So I'm glad that I'm getting caught up on this now, so that I have some idea of what's going on with Final Crisis when that begins in the very near future. Okay, now we have In contrast to that, I rated this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. So I was right that I did remember correctly that I rated it 9 out of 10. Up next we have The Green Lantern, Season 2, Issue number 2. I finished reading Black Lantern Corps, or whatever it's called, Black Star Corps. And the first issue of that, I talked about it on the podcast months and months ago. I did not like it at all. It didn't make any sense. I think I still give it like a 6 out of 10, but like I did not understand anything. It seemed like just nonsense. Issue number 2 was a bit better. Issue number 3, I felt like I kind of had a handle of what was going on. But then we had issue number 1 of Green Lantern Season 2 that I read before I read this, so I could understand what was going on, and it was only one issue to be caught up on it. Maybe it would help a lot if I read Season 1, because I've only read the first couple of issues of that 12-issue season. But anyway, I did get the variant cover that we see here. Again, I didn't write down who the cover artist is, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I like all the variant covers for DC Comics now are really nice. They're usually in some type of painted type style, or more like with watercolor. It looks more it's more of they're more fine art than they are comic book, I would say. But anyway, what I wrote on Twitter was, this book is so weird, I am confused. 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then I posted a picture of a panel, and he was trying to communicate with the thing, and it says trying to translate, and I don't think it was ever successful at it. Then I read number 1 the other day, and it only prepared me to understand what's happening a tiny bit. So there you go. That's my. What else did I write about Green Lantern? I also wrote. Oh, there's a big feather. I liked that. I forget if they use it for anything, but there's like these bird people and the starship mask things, and I don't know if they're the same thing as the one creatures. I forget the name of those. I don't know if it's that same species or if it's another entirely different thing. I don't know, but there's so much weird stuff going on, and I just can't personally follow it very well. So that's why I still gave it a 7 out of 10 because the art is really good. And there's there is some fun stuff in there that I did understand. Then we have Superman number 21, another variant cover for this one. Let me lower that a little bit. Let's see. I am behind on this one. I thought I was caught up, but I'm actually only caught up on Action Comics. There are about 10 issues of Superman that I have not read yet. But between where I left off and now, there's about 1,000 issues of Superman in general that I haven't read yet. But anyway, Superman number 21, I give this a 7 out of 10. There's his fight with Mongol, and then also Lois Lane needs lawyers is what I wrote for that. And also there's a fight scene that's a series of narrow columns that I thought was really cool. And that's all the notes that I wrote down for this one. So we will now move on to I do like this story that's going on with Superman and how it's like affecting all these other characters and all of that. But We'll see how this also ties, because while this is going on, Superman having revealed his identity to everyone, but the hot water that Lois Lane is in is because some video somehow got out to news outlets with Superman calling himself the king of the earth. And I did not read the last issue, so I don't know if that actually happened or not, or if it's a fabrication by probably Lex Luthor or something. I don't know, because they don't talk about the, like, Lois Lane asks where that video came from, but she doesn't get answers. I feel like probably in issue 2020 we see the origin, like where that's coming from, why that's happening or something. But it's all very interesting. I like it a lot. And then I forget if it's in this book or if it's in another one. No, it's in Superman Villains, which came out last week. And I forgot to talk about that part of it, was that Supergirl was super annoyed by Superman, because she's like, he lectured me for like all this time to keep my identity secret, and then he just goes out and just tells everybody. And yeah, I would be super annoyed by her too. But also, she's still infected Supergirl, which is my favorite. I've mentioned this before. It's my favorite version of Supergirl kind of ever. But anyway, up next we have Symbiote Spider-Man or Alien Reality, issue number 4. I have not read the first 3 issues of this, which may have been a mistake, but I still did enjoy it. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Most of this book takes place in the Nightmare realm, and he's teamed up with Nat, who is the Red Cat. So, like, all that, it is really fun. And it has me looking forward to read the issues leading up to this. Although I can't see how issues 1 through 3 are going to be nearly as fun as this Nightmare Realm section of the story. Man, I need to do a better, like, it's not too bad on, okay, it needs to be, I realize everything's on a slant. It'll be better next time. I think it's mainly, well, you know what? I think might be, no, that doesn't make sense, because that would make it even worse. Let's see, maybe I just do that. I think the music stand that I'm using is crooked because I leveled the tripod, but it didn't work. But I also need to use a better tripod anyway. Okay, so I think I may have been clipping like all of this all of the time. Let me turn down the volume of there. It's still probably clipping, but yeah, that's better. Okay, up next. Oh, I just got the regular cover for this one. Spider-Man, Symbiote Spider-Man, Alien Reality. Okay, up next, getting close to the end here. There's only 3 more comics to talk about. Vampirella Red Sonja number 7. I am a few issues behind on this, I think. If I'm not, then I just completely forgot what happened right before this one. But I give this a 7 out of 10. We have them in a 1920s setting with prohibition going on, and there's also a talking rat. And so I am a big fan of that talking rat. Let's see. What did I write on Twitter about it? Yeah, I'm a big fan of the talking rat. That's all I wrote down for it. But I think this is the A cover for Vampirella Red Sonja. For a while, well, I think the whole time with Vampirella Red Sonja, actually, I think this might be the B cover, but it has them tied up and then a bunch of gangsters in the background with, like, and one of them has a Tommy gun. So that gives you an idea of the time period they're in, and they have to they have to get dressed up in period clothes so that they don't stick out, all that. So that's a fun aspect of it. It's a good excuse to show them in all kinds of different outfits. Then we have Wonder Woman. We got the variant cover here. What is the artist's name? Is it Jai Jai June, is that the name on there? I'm just reading off of the cover, the signature on there. But this is a very cool cover, although I am sad that Jenny Frizen's run on the variant covers is over. But this one is pretty cool. The last one, 752, it was a different artist, I'm pretty sure. It was a very different style, but I also like that version of it, or that variant. Anyway, I give this book where is it? A 7 out of 10. Let's see. We have Diana and Valda fighting a quantum metal beast. So that was pretty interesting. And this is the Iron Maiden finale. And yeah, that's all I'll say about it. I think the other notes that I wrote down were much more spoilers. So anyway, if you're caught up on Wonder Woman, this is a pretty good conclusion to that arc, and it leads right into the next thing very well. So check it out. Even though I gave it a 7 out of 10, like I said, 7 out of 10 is still good. This just didn't have me really all that excited to go back and read to get caught up. I felt like I'm pretty much good on that. Like, I understand what's going on. So maybe that should mean I should rate it better than if I had no idea, if I wasn't able to tell what was going on. And then finally, we have Young Justice number 14. I give this an 8 out of 10. It's like everybody is in this book. Like, everybody's coming together. Everybody from the other Wonder comics. We've got Dial H folks. We've got the Wonder Twins in there. We got Naomi in there, and then they're also recruiting all kinds of others from Teen Titans and stuff like that. So there's like 30. I don't think it's 30, but it seems like that many heroes coming together to go and rescue Connor Kent and then stop this gigantic threat that's coming. So I have not caught up on this at all. I think the last issue I read was maybe like number 2 or something. So I really need to go back and read all this. I got the variant cover. I can't read that signature, but I love the colors on this, and this is one of the coolest covers this week. I didn't choose a cover of the week. Screw it. This is the cover of the week. It's great. The variant cover for Young Justice number 14. So that does it. And I gave that an 8 out of 10. I don't know if I mentioned that already. A lot of comics to read this week. It took me a lot longer to read all of them this week than it did last week. This week, hopefully I have fewer comics to read for the show, or that just fewer comics to have picked up this week. So I can do the show a lot sooner. I'm going to plan on this is my goal, is to just read everything that I got that week so that I can talk about them the next night on Thursday night. So today I'm streaming in the afternoon on a Monday, but ideally every Thursday night, 11 p.m. Mountain Time. That's really late. But you can watch it you can go back and watch it after the stream. You don't have to watch it live. Every Thursday night, my goal is going to be to read everything that I picked up that week so I can talk about it on the show. So quick shout outs to some other books that I read. Archie and Sabrina, number 1 through 3. I probably could have finished the arc with number 4 and 5, but I do really, really like that story arc. And we go back in time to the beginning of the summer to see how it all started and stuff like that. And I really like, I really like the story. I like it more than the current story because I skipped ahead, and started reading Archie and Kathy Keene. Is it Kathy Keene? Whatever her name is. and I missed out. I totally skipped Archie and Sabrina, but I was relieved to find out. So spoilers, Archie is still together. He's still in a relationship with Sabrina as of the most current issue following that. So it's like 2 issues later. He is still, even though the title is Archie and Kathy or whatever it is, he is still in a relationship with Sabrina. So I was relieved about that because I think it's a really interesting pair, and it's the story so far has been fun to read about them. So anyway, that's it. So let me know which comics that you've been reading this week, or any week really, by tweeting me at TIW Podcasts. Go to TIWpodcast.com for more reviews. If you enjoyed this episode or anything else on the site, please share some links with your friends. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you like to listen. Stay safe, healthy, and happy out there in all the infinite multiverses. And you can watch/listen to the live stream of all of these episodes at twitch.tv/thedemonjackal. And just doing all the live streams from that account as opposed to having like a bunch of billion different Twitch accounts. It's all there on the Demon Jackal, whether it's gaming or these podcasts, the comic book podcasts, Survivor, all the wrestling, as long as wrestling continues to be made. We'll see how all of that goes, but tune in there to watch live. Once more viewers start tuning in, I'll be keeping an eye on the chat and make it even more interactive. So if you're listening to this after the fact, try to tune in next time. Keep an eye out for tweets and stuff. I didn't tweet out about this episode because it's just a trial run to see how it goes. But future ones I will be. Why does it still say Late Night Minecraft? I was pretty sure that I updated that. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time here on TIW Podcast. Bye.